I'm Miss Ziegler, the Time Machine teacher, and in this series, we're looking at DBQs and documents. This one is about World War I. Let's get started putting your DBQ together. But before we do that, if you're new here, please make sure and subscribe and hit that notification bell so that you don't miss a thing. Let's get started. Okay, so now we need to draw our buckets, and you're always going to start with 3 because if you can get 3 paragraphs, that's always best. If you can't, that's fine. Remember, we're looking for cause and effect. So our first one is a cause, and it talks about Serbia and Austria-Hungary not getting along. Our second document also talks about an effect of Germany being found guilty, but it talks about the cause of imperialism being a cause and Austria-Hungary falling victim to murderous hands. So basically Archduke Franz Ferdinand. So you could probably put 1 and 2 together and talk about the relationship between Serbia and Austria-Hungary as being one of the causes. And you can use this part from that document as well as the information up here. So let's do that for 1. And remember, you can have different answers. You don't have to have the same thing that I do. But I'm just going to put this one as a cause, and I'm going to put Austria, Hungary, and Serbia relationship. Okay, that's my first bucket. Then let's see what else we have. Document number 2 says that they're all responsible. Document number 3 talks about the rivals of all of these countries. And document 5 is alliances. So could we put all of that together and say that alliances is another cause? Absolutely. So let's do 3, 4, and 5 in this bucket and call that alliances, if I can spell it right, and causes. Okay, and then we need an effect. So our very last effect could be document 6 and 7, the effect on the soldiers. Then you could spin it with, they were told to go because of patriotism, and then this is what actually happens. So now you have your buckets. This is going to basically become your thesis. Let me change my color here. This is basically going to become your thesis. You can say the causes of World War I were the relationship between Austria-Hungary and Serbia and alliances between other European countries. The effect of World War I greatly affected the soldiers. Then each one of these is going to be a topic sentence. So your first topic sentence would be one cause of World War I was the relationship between Austria-Hungary and Serbia. Then you'll go into documents 1 and 2. Your second topic sentence will be another cause of World War I was alliances between countries in Europe, and you'll go into these 3 documents. For your third topic sentence, you could say World War I greatly affected the soldiers, and you could use documents 6 and 7 to talk about that. Okay. Now, once again, you can have completely different answers in this. This is just a bare bones type DBQ to get you some practice. If we're going into document number 1, we're trying to prove relationship between Austria and Hungary was strained. So you can use several things in document number 1. First of all, you have to describe it. So you say document number 1 is an ultimatum from Austria-Hungary to Serbia to try to get them to stop the criminal activity that the Serbian government is allowing to happen against Austria-Hungary. Now, once again, we're trying to prove that the relationship is not good. So I would pull something out like, according to Austria-Hungary, Serbia is tolerating things that are not true to be printed in the press. Okay, that would be rewording this. They are also glorifying the criminals, or change that word. They're making the criminals into heroes. All right, that shows that you understand what this means. And they are also supporting activity that is against the law. That would be rewording this. Okay. Austria-Hungary is asking Serbia to take a stand against this and to work with them to make this stop. Then you'd be rewording these 2 things, okay? So you're never, ever going to quote these. You're going to reword it. Then you're going to go into your point of view, and you're going to talk about what we said about point of view, how this is coming from Austria-Hungary, what they believe and why they believe it. Okay? Then go into document 2, and you would say document number 2 is from a German leader at the Versailles Peace Conference, and he is protesting the fact that Germany was blamed for the war. He protests this because he says one of the main causes was the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand at the hands of the Serbian terrorist group. Okay, so that would be your supports. You're pulling this out to support it. Okay, then you could do point of view of a German man who does not believe that it's just Germany's fault that this war happened. Why does he believe that? Well, because he's German. So there's your first paragraph. Now, your second paragraph, if we go up here, that one was about alliances being a cause. So then you would go into document number 3, and you would say your topic sentence, another cause of World War I was alliances. You could say document 3 is from a book called Origins of the World War. You could say document number 3 is from a book called Origins of the World War, and it claims that all European powers were responsible for the breakout of the war. It claims this because European powers had alliances with each other. So you could say, according to the document, each country was responsible for mobilizing their troops and for failing to prevent war. So he doesn't really say alliances here, but you can use this part where he says they did certain things in which to lead to the mobilization of their army. So you can say that the author is alluding to the fact that there were alliances. Then you can go into document 4. According to document 4, alliances were a cause because as Germany was rising to power, France was worried about that, and so was England, and so they allied together in order to minimize the threat and to go on the offensive, which worried Germany. And Germany was afraid that they were trying to be out, or that they were trying to overpower them. Austria and Russia also did not get along. Okay, that's where it says contradictory claims. And then you can say that because of these alliances, when the Archduke Franz Ferdinand was shot, war broke out because of the domino effect. And then you could go in to explain that a little bit. You could even use that as your outside evidence if you explain it well enough. Also, use this one. You can say in document number 5 clearly shows these alliances and how when Austria goes up against Serbia, Russia has Serbia's back, and Germany has Austria's back, and France has Russia's back, and Britain is having France's back, right? So you could talk about the relationship alliance with document number 5. Then our last paragraph is the effect on the soldiers. So we have 6 and 7. Now this one talks about patriotism, so you could say according to document 6, it was your patriotic duty to pick up a gun and go and fight the war. And you were considered to be a great son and a great sweetheart or boyfriend, that they could be proud of you if you went and did this. And this is the call for all Yankees to go and do it, or to go and fight. And so you could say that the attitude in America was very patriotic and that this is their duty, that they had to go and do this. Then if you want to put in the outside information about the cowardice and the white feather, you could do that. But you could also use document number 7 and say, on the other hand, document number 7 talks about the negative effect of the war, where Wilfred Owen was fighting in the trenches and it was a horrible existence. Then you're going to pull some of this from the document. You could say, according to document 7, men were basically marching asleep. Then you're going to pull something from the document and you'll say that men were almost asleep as they were marching because they were so tired. They were lame. They didn't have their boots. Most of them had lost their boots. They're just trudging along. And you could talk about the gas attacks and how they had to be careful. That they would basically drown from this gas because their lungs would fill up. And that you could finally say at the end of the document, he talks about how you need to be careful when you're telling your children that it's good to go and die for your country because it's actually really, really awful. You could say that document number 6 talks about the positives of going to war, but document number 7 is the negative effects of what it actually does to soldiers. You could even throw in that you know what shell shock is and talk about, how that's in relation to PTSD. They didn't call it PTSD at the time, they call it shell shock, but it's basically the same thing. And you could do his point of view in this one. So that could be the gist of your causes and effects of World War I. I hope this has been very helpful for you. Please let me know if you have any questions in the comments. And if you're new here, make sure you subscribe, hit that notification bell so that you don't miss a thing. I appreciate you listening. Thank you so much.